15 men on a dead man's chest. Yo ho ho and a bottle of rum. Drive bluff support that we love best. Yo ho ho and a bottle of rum.
Our next author is Stephen Pearl. Stephen is probably one of the lightest and fluffiest writers active today. He has studied both metaphysics and science in his quest for the truth, bringing this knowledge to his work. Please welcome Stephen Pearl.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Light and fluffy, maybe a little on the sarcastic side, considering what I write. Rather blood-soaked, actually. But I am reading today from Worlds Apart, which is a paranormal romance action adventure. And I'll go as long as I can into this. This is the meet cute scene, basically. And what's happened up till this point is Marcus is from a parallel Earth, and he's a wizard there. And he's journeying to our world in a bid to stop a blight that is destroying his own. Alcina is involved in a custody battle over her son Timothy against the boy's sire Carl, who left her 8 years before. And she's gone to the Stone Circle to do a divination to try to figure out what to do next. And with no further ado, I think that's enough to get going. Just a sec. Sorry about that. So, Worlds Apart, Chapter 4. Why are the cute ones always nuts? Alcina sat on the ground, staring into the fire. A trail seemed to lead off between the mountains. A gavel came down to crush a woman's head, her long hair made up of crackling flames. A hand grasped the gavel. A pyre burnt up and a witch writhed atop it. Onlookers danced and capered about her feet. A golden river of flames swept through the revelers and lifted the witch from the pyre. A wall of black char followed the golden river, and the flames fell back. Blood pooled in the coals, and then a winged figure leapt skyward like a phoenix. The fire exploded, flaring 3 times its height. The stones around her seemed to blaze. Her mind opened so swiftly it hurt. Light burst from the fire's core, and she closed her eyes against the glare. When she opened them, all she could see were ghostly after images. The fire was out. Not even hot coals marked its passing. Slowly, shapes began to take on definition. Something moved in the circle's middle. Someone groaned. Alcina shuffled away from the indistinct figure until her back came against one of the stones. "La Mare," said a man's voice. Alcina sensed more than saw a gathering of mystical energies around the figure. Gods, that hurt. Marcus felt his head to be sure it hadn't exploded. At least I'm on solid ground. His eyes were dazzled from the light of the spell, and the darkness of the night left him effectively blind. Light! Marcus spoke the spell, including a hand gesture like a grade school child. He felt a slight tingle of energy, but nothing more. My gods, how weak is the magic of this world. Menace, netas, quantum, feeble, is, fopla, heka, pep, hectara. Who are you? Alcina came to her feet. Her eyes were beginning to clear. She could see a man. A native. A woman from the sound of her voice. Way to make a first impression, Tep. Blow up someone else's experiment. Don't be afraid. I'm not going to hurt you. I'm a visitor. Engorneri, un visitare. Alcina could almost understand some of the words. Her vision improved, and the full moon's light helped. The man before her was muscular, dressed in an expensive ritual robe and trews, with a large canvas backpack slung over his shoulder. "People know I'm here," blurted Alcina. Marcus could not understand the shadowy woman's words, but her tone held fear. Great. Look, just sit still for a moment. Stepping to the far side of the stone circle, Marcus dropped his pack. Alcina wanted to run, but the stranger backed away. All his movements were non-threatening. If anything, he seemed nervous. Her curiosity piqued. The light display had been like nothing she had seen outside a movie, and there was something about the man. Common sense told her to run, but an inner voice she had spent a lifetime honing told her to stay. On those rare occasions when the two disagreed, she had learned to trust the inner voice. Marcus reached into his pack, pulling out a pair of golden studs, each holding a small emerald inscribed with the rune answer. The crystals glowed softly. "I hate this," he muttered as he held one of the studs to his earlobe. The stud passed through his flesh with a brief, searing pain, and then it was done. Moving as non-threateningly as possible, he approached the woman. Now that his vision cleared enough for him to see her, she took his breath away. If someone had asked him to design the ultimate physical woman for his tastes, she could not have been more perfect. She stood defiantly at the circle's edge. There was fear in her posture, but also the courage to face it. "This may hurt a bit, but it can't be helped," said Marcus. Alcina watched the man rise from his pack and bring something to his ear before he turned towards her. Her heart fluttered like a schoolgirl's. He was broad-shouldered and muscular, which she liked, with a handsome face, but not so perfect it lacked character. He smiled at her, displaying even white teeth. "Hic possibilet pain un pius, as hoc sovegina essa assisted." The stranger strode to her side and grasped her ear. "Ow!" Alcina cried out as the second stud pierced her flesh. Her knees slammed into the stranger's groin. He buckled and she smashed her fist against the back of his neck, sending him to the ground. She bolted from the circle. Marcus found it easier to lie on the ground groaning than to do anything else. Forcing a deep breath, he yelled, "Please, I won't hurt you. I needed to connect the amulets. Please don't run. Let me explain." Alcina stopped in her tracks. Outside the circle, the sprint was already taking its toll. Muscles accustomed to swimming did not turn readily to running, and her bad knee was making itself known. She knew a good sprinter could easily overtake her, and running on the moor at night had its own hazards. "Who are you? Why didn't you speak English before? And what did you do to my ear?" She fingered the new stud in her inner lobe as she found a sturdy piece of wood to use as a club. Marcus forced himself to stand. The pain in his neck was almost drowned out by the throbbing from below. Jumping, he landed hard on his heels and the throbbing lessened. "I'm a traveler, a wizard experimenting in using chaos and node energy to open gateways between worlds. I don't speak your language, so I had to use an amulet to access your speech center so that we could communicate." "Great. First cute guy I meet in months, and he's a nut bar," muttered Alcina. "Please come closer so that we don't have to shout. You should at least collect your ritual tools. I promise not to harm you." Alcina considered, then focusing her thoughts, scanned his aura. A strong haze of purple surrounded the man, with blue and yellow a close second and third. Brown made up a distant fourth. She blinked, but the colors did not change. Mystical ability, open-minded intelligence, love, and linear logic. No violet. He has to be cracked, so where's the violet? "Do you promise not to hurt me?" She watched for the red lightning bolts that would indicate a lie. "I swear you have nothing to fear from me. I am simply what I said I was, and mean you no harm." No red, she thought. She bit her lip and watched him. Her ritual tools were a considerable investment in time and money. Many of them had been gifts with sentimental value. "I'm expected home in half an hour, and people know where I am." "Your caution is wise, but unnecessary." Marcus stepped out of the circle as she approached. Alcina walked to her altar, picked up her thing, and slipped it through the braided cord that girthed the waist of her ritual robe before she began packing away her other tools. The circle's wards were already shattered. She would thank the gods and spirits when she was safely back home. "Light!" Marcus gestured with his hand, and his brow wrinkled in concentration. Alcina glanced at the strange man. A glow like a firefly appeared between his hands, wavered, then went out. "What are you trying to do?" "A light spell, so I can see better. I do not know the terrain, and it's a shame to glimpse a beauty like yourself only in shadow." He smiled at her. Alcina felt a warm tingle shoot up her spine despite herself. She swallowed in a dry mouth, then rolled her eyes. "Right. Who do you think you are, Gandalf? This isn't a fantasy book." "Who?" Marcus turned his full attention on the woman. Gandalf the Grey, Lord of the Rings, took a little trip with a group of fuzzy-footed midgets to save Middle-earth. Ah, a wizard placed highly in your defense corps. He would be a useful individual to meet. Can you introduce me? Marcus put on his most ingratiating smile. Oh boy. Alcina checked that the dagger was still in place. Lord of the Rings is fiction? Oh. Marcus felt silent. As his aches and pains lessened, he found the woman's beauty distracting. Wilbur is right. Dangle the right type of candy and I am a lech. Have to focus. Keep perspective, he thought.
This video brought to you by the works of Stephen B. Pearl, available in fine bookstores and through the links on your screen.